Every I didn't have Christmas.
And help yourself to the pens. The magazines are in the middle. Those are newly printed ones, so they have really great articles in there for you for board members. Yeah. Thank you. She has one. He has one.
Okay, let's roll, guys. 6 o'clock on the nose. I'm going to show you for a second. So welcome everyone. For those of you that, there's not a good spot for me to say, I'm sorry. Those of you that I have not met, my name is Lee Powers. I am the Chief Operating Officer here at KS Management. I appreciate you coming to do these classes. I'll let Alice do a sales pitch for the classes.
We're very informative and they're very good speed here.
Good job, you're hired. So I appreciate you coming. A few quick housekeeping things. So in the center of the table, this owl-looking device is a camera and microphone. So there's people on Zoom as well. So it follows you as you move. So chit chat on the side, it's going to zoom in on you. So be conscious of that. Anyone on virtually, can one of you say something just so I can make sure you can hear us and see the screen?
I can hear you.
Perfect.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Perfect. I appreciate it. So Natalie, I know I stole your thunder.
No, you're good.
Go ahead.
So today we're going to be going over empowering community and leadership. This is a board member role training, and we're also going to cover communication. So not just what it's like, the overall basics of what it's like to have a specific role on a board, but also how to utilize different communication skills in order to elevate yourself as a board member and also to help bridge generational gaps. We found that a lot of times board members, many of them are retired, and sometimes there's communities where there's a disconnect between the demographics of age. So with, the things that we can bring on to help with that, to kind of assist instead of having to go through all of the different channels, creating those yourself, we have a lot of resources for you. Lisa is going to be presenting. If you haven't met her before, she is the chapter executive director from CAI. CAI has amazing resources for everyone that goes really into board member training and really helps us as community managers to stay educated. So we do all of our education through the CAI. And then the wonderful Lee Powers as well is here.
How many of you know what CAI is? Show of hands.
Good. You're failing me. You're failing me.
So Lisa, we start with that.
Yeah. So let's go over what we're going to cover. At least I'll have you chat about. So throughout this, we're going to go through an overview. Lisa's going to talk about board member roles and management company enhancements. And we're going to go over bringing in the technological divide, advantages of leveraging technology in community management, navigating challenges, and we'll give you some solutions for common board member and resident concerns. best practices for all board members, challenge and solutions, effective communication strategies, and advantages of leveraging technology and community management. And then we have who we are and what we do, but I'll let Lisa go first and then we'll let Lee pop in so you can tell them all about the CAI.
Not a problem. So for those of you that do not know, the Michigan chapter of CAI, it's Community Associations Institute. We are a membership-based educational nonprofit that focuses on community associations and providing the proper training for folks like yourselves as board members, community managers, as well as our business partners or a lot of the vendors that we've been working with. So we have tons of resources available. I left my card with each of you. If you ever have any questions about any of the courses that are available, something else that she's actually taking part in our board member training right now that we offer through National. So it is a fantastic opportunity to just be the best at what you do and help out the communities that you live in. It's wonderful.
So I am the marketing manager here, and we also have Miko. Many of you know Miko, community manager with us. And we also have Chris, who's a real estate agent. We also specialize in assisting board members in the transition of people moving into associations and out of, and what that means. So we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end here. But we wanted to go over a little bit about who we are as KS Management, as a management company, and like CAI, all of the wonderful things that they offer. We can speak to what it's like for us as KS with our AAMC.
Oh, this was your slide, man.
We're like deeply on his toes.
So we do these quarterly seminars for y'all. We do these magazines that are on the table. We're big into education as a company to help not only the board members, but those residents that live in the communities, and ultimately it helps the community just flow that much smoother. So part of what we do is we maintain a lot of credentials through CAI. One of them is the AAMC credential, which we're one of only 3 in the state of Michigan that have that credential, which requires us to do a certain number of continuing ed credits each year. We have to have certain insurances in place. Our managers have to hold credentials individually. So it's just another commitment to our communities and making sure that we're the leading experts in condo management, so we can relay that to you guys.
It's nice too, because that's something that you should ask of your management company, and it's not a given. So with working with us, that we do have that credential, and that we think that it's very important that our managers are at a specific level of education, and then we have people in-house, such as Lee with the PCAM, another really rare credential within the within this field too. So Lisa's just going to go through each one of the roles and kind of just break down what it's like to be a president and so on.
And we want, as usual, be interactive with this. If you have questions, shout them out.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to bother me by raising a question in the middle of the presentation. We're going to go with the flow, so no worries there. So first, we're going to start with our role of the president. This individual obviously provides the leadership for the group, the strategic direction. They are going to be the go-to person if your community manager ever needs to have an executive decision made right at that moment. They preside over the board meetings, ensuring they are productive and full of the agenda. They are a representation. They are the spokesperson for the association. They're probably going to be one of the most well-known board members within the community. Is one of their jobs to collaborate and work closely with other board members to achieve the association goals. And they will also delegate tasks, ensure accountability, and oversee the board's operations. Now, some helpful tips. Next slide, please. Effective tips for being the president. You want to be a visionary and proactive leader. Again, you are going to be the spokesperson in those situations of your community. You want to maintain open communication with all board members and make sure you're fostering a collaborative and inclusive environment amongst the board. Next slide, please. Yeah. Or I should say, any questions about being the president?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, as the president here. Yeah. Did she nail it?
Yeah,
Do you do all those things?
She didn't say thankless. And that is the job of every board member. Yes, it is a very thankless role to be in the position that you were in.
You get a very high salary though, so. Right, yeah, your checks in the mail, Sue.
All right, next we have our vice presidential role. They are there as the support person. They assist the president with their duties and stand in when they are absent. They are often one that will take over special projects or oversee committees. You are the succession plan. As the vice president, they are preparing to potentially step up into the role of president in case the president steps down or is unable to perform their duties. And then in terms of representation, they obviously represent the association in any capacities needed, usually in the direction of the president. And some helpful tips for the VP. You want to stay informed and be ready to take over at any time. As we know, life is unpredictable, so it's best to be prepared. Develop strong relationships with the other board members and make sure you're taking initiative on those special projects to demonstrate the leadership capabilities if the opportunity to become president does occur.
Well, it's the same question, who's VP?
Yeah. Would you say that was pretty accurate, or?
Yeah.
Yes, you were second in command, basically. All right, next we have the role of the secretary. They are the record keepers. They are going to maintain accurate minutes of the board meetings and records of board decisions, usually within those board meeting minutes. They help distribute the communications, so meeting agendas, minutes, other documentation for the board members that might be needed for the board meeting or just in general. Compliance, they are the one that's going to help ensure the board is compliant with all statutory requirements regarding documentation and reporting. They also, as it leads into this, manages official documents and records for the association. Now, I know this one always seems scary to a lot of people. I promise you it's not that bad.
Is there a secretary?
Obviously, you know, especially when you have a fantastic management company like KNS, they're gonna definitely assist with the record keeping and everything as well. So, you know, one of your main responsibilities is going to do those board meeting minutes and make sure that they're accurately representing what happened within the meeting. So
I just did a presentation not too long ago on AI and how you can kind of simplify things by using AI. And there's articles in this magazine, our previous magazine, and on our website too, to get started with if you feel a little intimidated. But just about the structure and just speaking in, just typing out your thoughts on what the meeting was and for it to put it together for you, and then you can customize it yourself. But it's a great resource to take that intimidation out of the minutes.
absolutely. And for any of you that use Zoom for your board meetings, say you have an AI assistant that will, it is by no means perfect, but especially if you're an active, you know, very active board member and so you kind of see yourself kind of catching back up to the happenings of the minutes, you can always go back to that AI summary to kind of help fill in those gaps of anything you might have.
And that's called Fireflies, just so, yeah, for Zoom, if you want to input that, Fireflies Assistant, and it can actually get you the whole transcript or it can give you a summary.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really,
Yep.
it's really easy.
And that article in the AI article that I wrote in this magazine actually has specific resources like Fireflies and different things that you can use for simplifying note-taking and other things too.
So effective tips for the secretary, you obviously want to be detailed and well-detailed and organized person. Ensure timely distribution of documents to the board members and maintain confidentiality and integrity of the records. So again, it's just keeping everything accurate because this will follow the association for years to come.
How long do associations keep records? Yes, so there is, similar to your own personal records, there's a retention schedule. You have to keep financials for 7 years typically. Meeting minutes, governing documents, stuff like that is forever. Alteration requests. So there's a whole schedule for how you retain records, and that's something that we monitor as a management company for you all as well.
We'll look back to the 70s to find some
Yeah.
legal documents for sure.
They're done
I
that.
do that too.
Yeah.
Does KS store all those?
Yeah.
things?
Yeah, our management company, we're, paperless and everything. We want to get rid of all paper records. So we store everything for eternity just because it's electronic and it's easy. But a lot of times we'll see, like, if we take on a new association, they have 30 boxes of records sitting there. And we'll go through and scan all of them as soon as we take over management to get it all digital, get it all searchable, and then it stays forever. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah.
I don't want to scare you and say we're changing the whole thing. But you know the problem we had before we became a board?
Yeah.
The records, when the records should have transferred so that if we go to another company down the road, those records, these records would go at the same time.
Yeah, that's the point of us making everything digital. Of course, we never want to lose a client, but
I'm just taking documentation.
everything being digital, then you can just literally just hand over a flash drive to the management company and there's all your records. You don't have boxes that were in a basement that got flooded and they're gone forever.
Or somebody's warehouse.
Yeah. Caught on fire.
Yeah.
All right, next we have our treasurer. This is going to be your financial guru of the board. They manage the associate, or I should say, again, because you have a management company, you're going to assist with the association's finances, including budgeting, accounting, and financial reporting. Many treasurers will help prepare and monitor the annual budget. They present the financial reports to the board regularly at meetings. And again, with KS's help, compliance ensures compliance with financial regulations and audits. Again, especially with your management company, they will take a lot of this off of your plate as a board member. Usually, a lot of treasurers are already financially minded, CPAs, former bookkeepers, so they are almost like a conduit to help simplify some of that reporting as well. Which is extremely helpful for those that don't necessarily understand it too, because it obviously can be very complex. So yeah, there we go on the treasurer.
I'll keep going. The treasurer.
Yeah.
You love it?
I just joined this board this year as treasurer on another board, and I was in a co-op then.
Okay.
The co-op's a bit different than
Yeah.
this, so,
Yes.
A little bit.
so I'm kind of holding some comments.
Do you have a financial background or? No.
I mean, just personally.
Just like numbers?
Yeah, like, you know,
Yeah.
money, you just throw it all over the place.
Just Scrooge McDuck. Just flying over here.
All right, and some effective tips for the treasurer. They want to have a strong understanding of financial management, provide clear and concise financial reporting, and monitor financial health and advise the board on financial matters. Sorry.
And also manners.
Manage- Sometimes people do need to have their manners checked, so. And then obviously there are additional board member roles. You have your members at large that can provide input and support on various initiatives, represent the interests of the general membership. Committee chairs that lead specific committees such as fundraising, events, architectural control. Oh my gosh, so many different committees that.
Landscaping, social.
Yeah, social.
Million.
Can we ask a question?
Newsletter.
Absolutely. Okay, so the only person that can actually form these committees is the president?
That's a great question.
Because I wanted to be on a committee,
Okay.
and then the committee was already formed and decisions were made, and I was surprised that the committee was already formed. And it's like, well, wait a minute, I did all my research and I wanted to be a part of this, and they said, oh, no, you weren't picked to be on the committee. And it's like, wow, well, who picks people to be on the committee? So this is a good question for me.
Yeah. You want to take it? You want me to? Rock, paper, scissors? So yes, so typically the president forms a committee after discussion with the board members. Typically the president appoints the chair of that committee, but does not appoint the entire committee. So typically you get volunteers within the community. You can have other board members say, hey, this person would be good to be on this committee.
So it doesn't go out to all the residents, it just is who they want to be on their committee, is that correct?
They can send it out to everyone too, and just say, hey, who's interested in being on this committee?
And honestly, that'd be a proper way to be doing it as well.
Well, that's
Give
what I
everyone a
would think,
shot.
but I just, this was great.
Yes, I think in the minutes that would get distributed to where I looked at the co-op and people were aware that a committee was being formed, you know, so if you'd like to
Yeah, I mean,
participate.
and that's what I thought was gonna happen,
Mm-hmm.
until it didn't.
Yeah, from the beginning, it should be, the board should be having a discussion to say, okay, what is this committee? What is their purpose? They should make a charter and say, okay, here's the guidelines that they have to fall within. And remember, committees don't have any decision-making authority.
No,
They can make
exactly,
recommendations to the board, but the board makes the decision.
exactly.
All right, and then finally we have advisors, so offer expertise and advice on specific areas without voting rights. Usually your advisors are gonna be people you're gonna see sitting on committees. You know, they have particular expertise in the field. There's a particular project going on that, you know, the committee has been formed for. And honestly, they can advise accordingly for the board to make their final decisions. All right, so this is effective tips for additional board member roles. Obviously, you want to engage actively in your committee work or any work that you were doing as that additional board member. Represent diverse viewpoints and bring fresh ideas and support the board's collective goals and initiatives. The worst thing that we hate to see happen is personal agendas coming into play. And unfortunately, that does happen, but you know, being in these roles, you need to do your best to not to feed into those.
So some of the things that we do as your management company to help with this stuff is to help get transparent information out there for you. So our online portal, I hope I'm not going to ask this question because I don't want to be sad, but all of you as board members should be getting in the online portal on a daily basis, right? So the point of our portal is that everything can be transparent. You guys can see everything in real time. You can run reports, treasurers specifically. You can run balance sheets and income statements live at any point in time. If you're trying to crunch numbers on something or look at something specific. We were talking about AI earlier with your meeting minutes, but we have Stan as a text assistant as well. That I hope we know a lot of the communities are using, but you as board members can kind of encourage your homeowners to use that as well. It's a cool tool where if maybe they don't have an email address or maybe they don't have a computer, they can do everything that they can do online right through Stan. So they can shoot us a text and say, hey, this piece of siding fell down, and send us a picture of it, and we can submit a work order right on their behalf. So it's cool to be able to kind of bridge that gap with everyone. Not everyone is tech savvy. Some people prefer texting over computers. Some people want hard copies of newsletters mailed to them. But our role as a management company and your role as board members is to try and communicate with the masses. So adapt to what everyone wants. Everyone's going to be slightly different, but having the tools out there where everyone can get the information that they want through whatever channel makes sense for them.
Question.
Yeah. You're on fire tonight, Alice.
I am. The complaint that I've heard from some of the board, from some of the callers, is that it's not user friendly.
The website?
Yes, the documents don't have all the documents. You have to hunt and peck for some of them. An example is when you want to submit to the board for a change, you have to hunt and peck for that form. It's not in the documents.
Okay.
So
That's good feedback because we routinely make little out videos and post them on there. There's a whole tutorial of them on the website. So that's one that we can make.
and I've heard that they don't like to get on there because they get lost and frustrated. After spending 30 minutes, they just say, forget it.
Has that been recent or was that a while ago?
No.
Because they just redesigned the website, so it's the homepage is super
It's
simple.
been
now.
within the last.
I just tried to use it today. It's not user friendly. I like it.
Yeah, it's
I've been there all the time.
it's broke down on or using it on like a laptop or a tablet.
Actually, I was at the last, I was on my
Okay.
phone.
Yeah, on the phone it's not the greatest. There's
Okay.
an app that you can use.
I saw that.
On your phone, and that works fantastic.
I saw that,
but
yeah.
The mobile version of the website on your phone doesn't work very good.
Mhm.
But it's super, the homepage was just redesigned here recently, where it just basically has 4 boxes. And it has payment related stuff, board member stuff, open items. So it's all super like point and click, very
Oh,
intuitive.
okay.
Sue's
Very
nodding her
nice.
head over here, so
It is very nice, but it still needs to
Because I was
have
on my phone.
tweaks to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not good.
yeah, we're always doing,
I
we
have
always
to-
make,
I
and
will
then
say that.
that leads right into the next topic on there is the video libraries that we do and the little help articles that we make all the time. We take feedback like that and then we make articles to help with that stuff or make tutorial videos. Like I mentioned earlier, these magazines that are on the table, we make those multiple times per year. We post videos on our website routinely. So we want to be that resource for you guys to any question you have about your association. To find it on our website or find it on the portal.
What type of videos did you post?
Everything you could imagine.
Well, this will be posted.
Yeah, this will be
So we
posted.
record all of our seminars and we post them. And like Leah was saying, that sometimes somebody who gets on the website might not find it to be, the portal might not find it to be user friendly. So they can still send us an email and they can still pick up the phone. They can still we have all these other resources for them to be able to find that information. But if something like that comes up, you could tell your community manager or send an email to us in general. And I do all the website design too. So if it's something that's, everybody seems to be needing and I can make that simple on our website, I'm happy to do those. So we like that kind of feedback because then we can customize it for you.
For sure. And some of the stuff we did, what was that last year? We did a portal training.
Yes.
I think it was last year.
Mhm.
But some of the stuff that you can see on the portal, and that video is recorded on our website as well, is you can see everything with maintenance requests for the entire community. You can see all the financials. You can see your governing documents, newsletters, calendars. You can, if your community has a clubhouse, you can book the clubhouse right through there. So we try and get all those tools out there, not only for the board members, but for the community as well. So if people are coming to you as board members, asking questions about how to access this document or how to view this information, you should always drive them to that website first and say, hey, check that out. If not, call KS. I know board members love just walking around the community and everyone's chasing them saying, hey, I have a question. So that should always be your answer is go to the website, call KS, all that stuff is there, and we try and make it that much easier for them to access. Back to you.
All right. So some best practices for board members. And this is a big one. I know when you think about the association's documents, it is a huge undertaking. However, that is going to be one of your best friends as a board member. Take the time to familiarize yourself with the documents, learn the community rules and regulations, because as you know them, that's going to help you better enforce them. Active participation, make sure you're attending all the meetings and participating actively. And which leads into the other one, be prepared. It's very frustrating. I've sat on many boards myself when you go into a meeting and, oh, what are we even talking about? Did you look at the agenda? Did you look at the documentation that the management company provided or the other board members had prepared for the meeting? Just take a few minutes just to scan through it, just so you can, again, can actively participate in the meeting itself. And again, we come back to collaboration. Working collaboratively with other board members as well as association members. Respect differing opinions and work towards a consensus. We obviously are all different people with different opinions. But again, you are an association, so you're working towards the greater good of the community that you reside.
And that's the greatest thing about boards and communities or even co-ops. It's the same type of thing. You have generally 5 people with totally different backgrounds, totally different opinions coming together to look at the whole community. What works for everyone that lives in that community. You're going to have different opinions, but it's about talking through those and seeing what works best for everyone. At the end of the day, you as board members, you're running a business. The association is a business. And you have to make decisions that work well for everyone.
All right, some more best practices, continuous learning. Obviously, you're doing a great thing here with being here today. With CAI, again, with our board member and leader members, we have a ton of educational material that is available to you with your membership. Tons of classes. The more you know, the greater help you are going to be to your community. Ethics integrity. This is a huge one. Maintain high ethical standards and integrity. Again, personal agendas aside, you know, working towards the greater good of the community. Communication. We want to foster open communication and effective communication within the board as well as the association's members. And then stay committed to the association's mission and goals and make decisions that benefit the community in the long term.
And I'll make a little plug on CAI here for a second, but CAI offers a membership to boards as a whole. I don't have the price.
305.
305. So it's something as you come into budget season for the association, it's worth budgeting and have the association pay for a membership that stays in place forever for the community. So then whoever's on the board, we just cycle out each year as people get voted on or off. But the board members always remain members of CAI. So then you're getting or monthly, quarterly newsletter,
Monthly
emails,
newsletters, quarterly magazines.
the educational classes and resources on their website. The board then has access to all of that all the time. So we always try and encourage board members to incorporate that into the budget. Generally, your budget can afford $300 a year for the association just to have that additional resources.
And even for your larger boards, with that price of 305, that covers up to 15 board members.
Did I miss this? Did you say, are you, under the umbrella of CAI?
No, ma'am, I am actually the executive director of the Michigan chapter of CAI.
Oh, okay.
So CAI has a CAI somewhere. CAI has a national, well, it's worldwide actually, but there's a national organization, and then each state kind of has their own chapter that focuses on stuff for that state. So
Sometimes in many cases, multiple chapters.
Right.
So there's over 60 chapters worldwide, over 40,000 members. So there's a huge another community that you can turn to.
and it's nice to be able to see, like, I just recently went to the national conference for CAI. It was in Vegas, but there's people from all over the world that were at that. And to just talk to people from other states, other boards, other chapters to hear what they go through and to kind of bounce ideas off each other. That's the greatest thing about CAI, is having that connection with all those people, having resources. If you're facing something as a board member, there's a high likelihood that some other board out there has seen that same issue before, that you can then say, hey, how did you handle that? Do you have any tips for it? It's just a great resource and great connection to have.
And there's a community blog that you can do all that virtually as well. And just because we have to come to Dubai while we're at this. Our national president is actually from Dubai. So he was just voted in at our annual meeting we're in Vegas in May. All right, so more challenges and solutions when it comes to communication. Engage actively within the community and with community work. Represent diverse viewpoints and bring fresh ideas. Support the board's collective goals and initiatives. And some tips: develop clear conflict resolution policies, prioritize tasks and manage time effectively, and create an inclusive environment that values all contributions.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
so how many of you get good feedback from your community? Or not good, your choice. How many of you get routine feedback from your communities? You don't count because you're in the same building, so that's easy.
Who's on the same boat?
You- They're all in this, no, they're all in the same building, so that's easy to communicate.
Oh,
right?
you mean that? High rise.
Yes.
That's what he's talking about. It's like, what's he talking about? Yeah, I'm an high rise, so everybody knows everybody.
Right? You all pass each other in the
Yeah,
elevator,
yeah,
and
exactly.
you run up the back stairwell.
Right,
avoid them.
exactly.
So I just kind of want to, compare with how yours works. I find it very odd that, I've been in this community for 5 years now. We never get communications ever. No like flyers. I mean, from chaos, you know, we do, but we don't get stuff from within our community. We have 3 separate boards because of the way the whole development was built. So we talk about, you know, do we get like feedback? Well, no, because the board doesn't communicate out. And then all we get, you know, if you're talking to some neighbors, they're all negative. It's like, well, the board doesn't tell us anything. Like, I know you're right. So I do find it very odd.
You have a newsletter?
There's nothing.
You just read my mind. That's where I was going with this whole conversation.
Segue.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm new to the board as another gal that's just really new to the neighborhood. I mean, she and I have been bouncing off some things that we got working on the board. I don't know if you guys watch this recording, my board, you're going to hear this now. It was like we had like no orientation, nothing. It's like, here we are, boom. You know, like 3 months after our annual meeting, finally the board meeting got pulled together, took forever to do it. That's not the email thing that you guys use, but that was super choppy. It's like, forget that, let's just use our regular emails, because it was all a disconnected conversation. So I just find it great, because again, well, you know, mentioned the co-op thing, we have 427 units. It was a big thing. And it was so different than this, that I'm just shocked I don't want to come in like a bulldog. You know, I know this seems like, yeah, you guys should be doing things, but it's just the communication is really lame.
Yeah, and
So,
that,
but are we supposed to, minutes are supposed to be, I mean, even the board did the minutes. We had a meeting, you know, a month ago, when I see minutes.
yeah, and that's a big component of getting feedback from the community is the board has to communicate to the community. to get feedback back.
Yeah.
We see across different communities where they do newsletters. Some of them post, if you have common areas where everyone goes in a high rise, perhaps they post flyers on common areas. They post things by mailboxes. You've seen communities send out like SurveyMonkey surveys to ask feedback on certain things. Maybe the board is considering implementing or changing. So you guys as board members kind of drive that communication within the community. Of course, we can facilitate all of it by shooting it out via email, posting it on the portal, via text. But you guys as board members that live in the community are the ones that should be driving the communication with them.
And if there's a lack of, sometimes that's where a committee can be created. If you notice that within your community, there's something missing, there could be a communication committee that's put together that builds out some sort of newsletter, or, you know, make sure that the minutes are getting out to everyone too. So you could bring that up.
So that's what the other new gal had recommended. She and I were bouncing off, said, I have this question, you know, so we're gonna come to the next meeting in a couple weeks with a whole bunch of questions for Joe and the 2 board members.
Yeah.
But yeah, she thought, you know, let's do a newsletter. It's like, that's, you know, a great idea. We've got some really huge projects. We have our whole roof replacement coming up, big dollars down the road, and there's no communication about that.
Do you have
Well-
a Facebook page? No?
No, yes, we have a Facebook group.
Oh, that's a good way to communicate too.
It's, but there's the 3 different sections, so we can't really talk so much about our business because of the other 2 sections, it doesn't apply to them. Yes, it's an interesting setup the way the.
So
it's built.
that's a great thing to Natalie's point is, boards, your community in particular, you have large roofing projects coming, the board's focused on doing that type of stuff. So that's a great time to make a committee then and say, have a communications or a social committee, and the board relays stuff to them to then communicate to the homeowners within the community and say, hey, here's an update of. the
So I won't be
project.
negative Nelly on that one, but when I moved in, there was no board, so you're just putting up 4 people together.
Yeah,
Yeah, so get people to volunteer.
it's always fun to try and find board members, that's for sure.
Yeah, and one just quit, you know, if I joined, so we were half by now. Or again, but yeah, but that's one thing, say that trouble a lot, you just getting people to participate. When you have that many
We
still.
put flyers on our mailboxes too, and we're, like, say, we're getting a new roof next week.
We can't put flyers on though. I mean, you can like tuck them in under the mailboxes,
Yeah.
but because
David too? Give an outside mailbox?
we have the curbside on the posts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the kids slip the flyers into the lower part, but usually they just get wet in the rain and it's like.
Well, and that communication then goes back to them trying to recruit more board members. And it's a great, I don't know if you have this in here or not, that's a great way to tap board members in the future is those that are volunteering on committees. Because obviously they show an interest in helping in the community, being involved. So once they serve on a committee, they're great candidates to thrive into getting board members.
It's true. I mean, honestly, with, our chapter, that's exactly how we do it, is in order to become a board member.
Oh, I have.
Exactly. In order to become a board member, you do have to serve on it. Just so we know that you truly want to be involved and, you know, want to be a part of making the organization better, so. And then just so everybody knows, because you probably haven't, but Lee is going to be our incoming president-elect. So in the next 2 years, he will be my boss man. Okay, so it's pretty good.
It's very exciting.
So that's also why I'm plugging CNA.
So, yeah.
That's where my question came from.
Okay, I get it now.
And it all works together too.
Yes.
Educating, where we get all of our education comes from CAI. And there are so many amazing resources. So that's where we're learning from. And if we can prompt all the board members up to use those resources as well, it's expanding as much as possible. And cheer, one of the great ways that you could get people more involved is to have events. So if you have a difficult time getting anybody to, you know, understand that you have volunteers or you want more, doing something, you know, really small can be helpful. And if you can't do the events yourself, follow along with us for our events that we do. These are for board members only, but we do have our expo coming up in October. And that's just a free resource for all residents that they can come out and have brunch with us. They get to see the vendors. We'll be doing the presentations. They can see you there as board members. You will hopefully recognize some of them and you can have conversations then too. But yeah, little things. I know some people just have like in the pergola, hang out for a little bit, set up lawn chairs and just sit and talk and grill up some hot dogs. And it doesn't have to be anything intricate. Or maybe you as a board member sometimes do something like that outside and they see it and they'll want to come by and have a conversation. Positive ones, of course.
No homeowners ever complain. On that, I'll go back to Lisa.
Oh, good thing.
Way to cut it off, Lee. All right. So journey to effective association board membership. Obviously getting started with the association board, get familiar with your documents, establish board roles, responsibilities, and communication channels. Your next step is building strong community relations, foster relationships with community members and the local authorities. Again, it's a community. You're all there to work together to make it a better place to live. Driving positive community engagement. What we were just talking about, organizing events, encouraging participation and enhanced community spirit, and then implementing effective governance strategies. So this is, again, you know, one of the last stages, but once you become familiar with things and start getting people very involved, number 4 is going to be way easier to do.
Well,
Go ahead.
and jumping back to what we were just talking about, Emily said it doesn't, events and community things don't have to be elaborate. They don't have to be intricate, coordinated, big circus production type stuff. Do, you know, your community best, do what works for them. There's some communities that we manage that have maybe book clubs. Some of them have like knitting and sewing clubs. Some people just sit by a gazebo or something in a common area and just chit chat every Thursday. There's communities that go to local restaurants together. They just post flyers and say, hey, let's go out to a restaurant and to know each other. There's so many things like that that you can do. Going through COVID kind of taught us different ways of communicating with people and connecting with people. Having maybe food trucks come in the community and just park for a little bit and all the neighbors come out and get tacos and margaritas and have a party in the common area. There's so many ways to just get to know your community and communicate with them. And then you're going to drive more positive communication rather than just hearing from them when they're upset about something.
You can tack on to events that are happening around. Alex, you were saying that you're sharing in your newsletter some things that are happening in Michigan. I teach yoga part-time in Wyandotte, and every Wednesday evening there's free yoga through Wyandotte Henry Ford Hospital. So something like that, and it's outside. So if a few people wanted to get together and do something like that, and then maybe have a coffee or something afterwards. If you can find in your town something like that that you can kind of tack along with instead of having to put it all together yourself, it's kind of a shortcut.
Nice yoga club.
So focusing on communication, CAI recently launched, the Community Association Civility Pledge. And there's a short video, about this, but the premise is making sure that you are communicating civilly with all members. And we know people can be difficult, but it's a promise to keep, again, that sense of community within the association, to treat everyone as fairly as possible, especially when it comes to communication within. So go ahead and start that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Oh,
Right about that.
Oh. Did it not link the
It
video?
might be on the next page. I didn't see that there was a link in it. So.
Oh, and the one I sent you, it was embedded, so. It
Oh, it was.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, great video.
Well, I can still get to it, so if you could continue to the next one, I can get to it.
Go to that.
Oh, this one.
slideshow.
Huh.
Slideshow.
There it is. Online
There it
resource
is.
page.
We love technology.
Yeah.
And this website that Lisa has up here is the Community Associations Institute website that we were talking about. So you can see they have all the different resources there at the top where you can go through and you can pretty much search anything, any topic that you're looking for info on. And there's going to be an article, video, an FAQ, some sort of content for that on this website.
And the civility pledge simply starts with you as board members. You know, this is a promise that you make to each other as well as your community members. And it's, you know, nationally recognized by CAI. You do receive recognition through our organization that you committed to this civility pledge.
So again, kind of recap what we do as a management company. We want to try and be that resource for you for everything. So we're kind of the starting point for any question that you have, any resource that you want. We want to be that starting point and resource to help you. We take the feedback from everyone and we build out those resources. We've created other companies based on y'all's feedback of what you're looking for. These classes that we put together, we get feedback from each of you on what you want to see for those classes. And that's kind of how this class came about, is people wanted to learn more about what each board member is and how to communicate.
So we have, we found that there were gaps as far as when there were landscaping services needed, that we have a landscaping company. We have a maintenance company that can subsidize the different things if you need those taken care of. And just KS as a whole, we have so many resources on our website. And we found also that there's times where you as board members have people that are coming in and out of your communities where they're fully in the know of what it's like to live in an association. And that's been a gap. That's kind of frustrating. A lot of times those bylaws come in right before when they're sitting down to close, and it's overwhelming, and some people don't know what it's like to live in an association. So we created this association simplified booklet, which you can give to anybody that's moving in or thinking about, to people who are selling that gives them a little bit of a breakdown of what it's like to live in an association. It uses positive language to describe what your position is as a board member with what they need to do in order to stay within compliance and to not have violations around your communities and make sure that it's looking nice and staying up to that standard. And what their role is as a co-owner, what the manager's role is in the board of directors. We also started working with real estate agent. Chris is excellent at this. We've educated real estate agents and created an association simplified course. So they, when they are selling to people in associations, can be less intimidated about what the details of that are and can explain all the ins and outs of it. So it's helping the agent, it's helping the mortgage company, it's helping the board members, and it's all across. We find that there's issues. A lot of times we'll get people that call us, residents that call us, and they're angry because they don't understand why they're paying dues. And that's very frustrating because they live in an association that should be very clear. So this is something that we found that was a gap, and we've created a nice way to segue over to that. And Chris can tell you a little bit about too. We have a program with our mortgage company. While you're talking, Chris, I'm going to pull up our website and I'm going to show you guys some resources too on some things to continue this education. Go ahead.
Absolutely. No, so we've been doing the bundle select program. Basically, in short, by working with us and KS Mortgage Group, we do offer 20% off real estate services. So that's the sale of your home and any purchase if you're deciding to move. And it's a KS managed property that you're selling, great. But if the purchase is not a KS managed property, you're looking to buy a single family home, you also still get 20% off your closing costs on that as well. And when you go to the website, there's a nice little scroll bar to give you an idea. Selling your condo for 300, buying for 150. If you're downsizing, anything like that, it'll tell you how much you could potentially save by using this program. But the main goal is, as agents around here, there aren't a ton of communities that we work in. So whether you're doing 20, 30, 50 deals a year, 1 to 3 of them might be condos. So we don't have a ton of experience with it, and it should be treated like a completely separate business. We and our admin staff have set timelines for how a typical transaction goes, but when you throw in a condo association, it should be a completely separate thing. And there's a lot of things that agents don't know about, whether it's going to sell the house or whether you have a buyer going to HOA. So it's good on our part from listing a home. The first one that I listed, the co-owner didn't know that they had a maintenance matrix. And basically when I have clients that want to see the bylaws, what they're pretty much asking is what's covered by the HOA and what am I responsible for? And a way to do that is I just told the seller, text Stan. I have Stan's number saved in my phone. So text Stan, ask for the maintenance matrix, and she did it right from her phone, and she got a text message with the PDFs, and I was able to print it out. And so now what's good on my job as a listing agent is to help whoever brings the buyer, so that buyer can now be educated as well. A lot of times, like you said, is buyers might contact the management company 6 months down the road, a year down the road, and not really know what's going on. It's probably because the agent didn't portray or bring association simplify, which we include with all our listings now too. It's a great tool. And so they have questions and they just go straight to the management company, or list agents might just go, I don't know, call the management company, or because they don't have access to the board or anything like that. They a lot of times push it off instead of working together with the management company. I contacted a community manager about for sale signs, open house signs. They can be allowed, they cannot. Some just say, hey, it's a condo. I don't think we can, so I'll just stick one in the window. Or some condos do allow it, but some agents don't know if that's allowed or not. So our goal is to kind of keep everything in-house. We are treating listing and purchasing condos as a separate certification, essentially. Our entire team, and expanded outside of our team, we try to bring as many as possible to come to their Con Ed class that KS hosted in our training room, just so we can all get a better understanding. We're all also I'm trying to go to as many annual meetings as well, just to kind of get to know everybody. And the more we get to know the communities, the more we'll know kind of how things work in there. And this will just give you a better idea of just the consistent quality of service when you go to list your condo. Then you have an agent that's going to let the co-owners, know what to do on their side for the smoothest process, but also try to make sure the buyers are well informed during the process. Things to look for: reserve studies, looking for financials, and A lot of times, there could also be, rent percentage caps as well. And agents might not know that. So you might have a buyer come in, and as a list agent, I see that the buyer is an investor. I can come through and say, hey, you know, we're at the rental cap, or there's no rentals or things like that. And instead of them getting halfway through the process, backing out of the deal because I find that out and I clear kind of the market, which nobody wants to do. A lot of times we can get ahead of that by having clear communication with KS Management and KS Mortgage Group as well.
And you as board members, so this, I mean, us talking about this, you have a lot of these communities are transient, people that are coming in and they're moving out for whatever reason, but it really comes down to making your job easier. So you're not getting all of these phone calls with people who are confused. You don't have people that are upset with you, that are residents that don't understand what your job is as a board member, or what that they, you know, what it means to live in an association. That there are special assessments. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. And sometimes those things are kind of tucked away, you know, dues will be very low, but then there'll be a big assessment. So we're trying to help real estate agents understand to look for those things so they can educate the buyers before they move in, rather than you having people living in your associations upset with you because of that lack of education. So I'm really happy. Chris has done an excellent job. And then the Association Simplified booklet came from doing a course with real estate agents. And then it was like, oh, you know, everybody in the room, they didn't know, none of the real estate agents, this room was as full as it is right now. None of them knew what a maintenance matrix was. None of them knew what, outside of the term bylaw, there really wasn't much, anything that they understood about how to find these different things within the documents and to make their job easier and also make your job easier.
Yeah, and with the maintenance, it's so nice because I could say, I've been doing for about 8 years, let's say roughly 200, 250 homes sold, maybe 30 to 40 were condos. And until February, never heard of maintenance matrix. Find test for the bylaws. I asked for a copy of the bylaws. Usually by getting a copy might cost money, so it's always just have a hard copy. You know, we try to scan that, send it to PDF. Here's 106 pages, here's the bylaws you asked for. When really they just wanted to know, is the patio covered?
Right.
You know, and so things like that, it's been very, very helpful to simplify it. And we even get a lot of buyers that for some reason will just say, I don't want to be an HOA and pass. And okay, I get it. You don't want to pay, you don't really know what's going on. We can now say, well, why? You know, why do you think HOA is a bad thing? Because you want yellow siding on your set condo. And so we can just ask the questions now that we know, now we have the relationships with KS Management and things like that, and getting educated on it. We can now educate our buyers on it as well. And they know what they're getting into. They'll ask questions as far as why is this HOA 151, this one is 351. And there's a way to kind of, as we get to more of these education seminars, is sometimes every HOA has their board that runs their business, like we said, differently. Every HOA is a business, they run it differently. Some may, and I don't just from the outside looking in, people may think some may keep their monthly dues low, and that could help drive more people to that condo complex because they see a lower HOA. I know sometimes it happens with investors. They might see an HOA that allows rentals with a lower monthly fee, and then they don't know that maybe assessments could come in the future. But just being able to explain to buyers the different ways that HOAs manage each other. So I'm trying to go to more of these, kind of see how things are ran, just so I can kind of communicate that to more, not only clients, but the agents on our team as well.
Yeah, and we have the mortgage aspect of it is, so from the lending point of view, we have a lending company in-house here at KS Management now. And that way we can actually go in and find all of the details of what's happening, and we educate the buyers in that way too. So we can say, these are what your dues are, these are what your special assessments are. And we also have clear communication with the real estate agent. So if they need to find out that information, you have to pay for it, correct? A lot of the people that are going through the process of trying to find detailed paperwork will have to end up paying for it, but the seller can get that information. One of the ways that we have that accessible is through Stan. So they could text Stan and say, I need my bylaws, and they can have that PDF emailed to them and make things really, really simple. So I just wanted to show you two. Thank you so much.
Yeah, real quick. I
Yeah,
think
go
I
ahead.
had a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Maybe two.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say that I'm selling my condo. what is my first step? Contact you?
First step is to contact me. Yep, what we do is a market analysis. I had this question at, an annual meeting I was at yesterday. Someone asked, how much is an appraisal? And I don't know how often any of you have sold, homes in the past, but an appraisal is done on the lending side when someone's purchasing. It's the bank's opinion, value of the home. When you're going to sell, you're gonna want a market analysis from an agent. We're basically gonna tell you the rough range, what we think your home would sell for in today's market. So that would be step one, to kind of have that listing consultation, essentially, walk you through the home. This isn't where we're listing the home. We can do this thing in a month or a year. We just walk through, it gives you an idea that, you might think your condo's worth 200, you find out it's worth 220, or vice versa. And that can also give you an idea. We do a net proceeds sheet, when you go to sell a home, is we say, you know, your current loan amount, your closing costs, 20% off as well. This is what you could walk with if you sold the home for this price. However you wanted to as well. But that would be the first step, is to contact myself. And if you're going to sell, that would be it. If you're going to sell and buy, then we would also have your contact the mortgage group. And make sure you can take advantage of the buy sell discount on our sides. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
So if
Oh,
you,
one more.
oh yeah, go right ahead. I'm sorry, I'm turning around and not seeing the hand raised. Go ahead.
So my question is about, if you request the bylaws, that's one thing, but that doesn't identify any assessments.
Correct.
So whose responsibility is it to share to share the assessment? We just had, this was a little bit, we had a couple that sold their unit, but they didn't tell the buyer that there was an assessment.
Mm-hmm.
So I understood that if you don't share that, you, as the original person, are responsible to that assessment if you didn't share it with the new buyer. Is that correct?
So I think.
Want me to take that one?
Well, I can just be real quick, just from the example is when it's almost like a disclosure, when it's shared with me, and if I'm asked, obviously I will share it, but it's kind of, if a co-owner that was listing a property through me did not make me aware that there's an assessment, there's no way that I can know, and then it happens and there's that lack of that, it could be up to the it could be up to the buyer to do their due diligence.
Yeah, so a few people should be disclosing that. So one of the things that we do as the management company when a sale is happening, the title company reaches out to us to say, hey, what does the current buyer or what is the current seller? What do they owe? What assessments are coming up? Is there litigation pending in the association? That type of stuff. So we supply that to the title company at that point. So they definitely are aware at that point because they're signing off on it as the buyer. They have to sign saying they received this, they know what's happening. But ultimately it should be up to the seller. The seller should be disclosing that.
Disclosed right up front.
Right from the beginning, yeah.
It's right up there.
Yes.
Being on the board and knowing that certain things are going to be coming up in the future, like our roads. And if somebody were to be on the board and want to sell and not disclose that, the community might be, and it's nothing that's concrete yet.
Mhm.
They may be putting together a loan for the roads or the roofs or whatever,
Mhm.
something big. Do you have to disclose that especially if you're on the board or something?
No, there's no, especially if there's nothing in place, if it's just hypothetical or, it's coming, there's no concrete. No, but it should be something that's part of the class that we teach for realtors is that the buyer should be asking for certain documents, looking at a reserve study, looking at income statements and balance sheets to see what the association's spending money on, to then know, hey, the roofs are 20 years old and there's $10 in the reserve account. I know an assessment's coming.
That's our motto.
How much conversation do you have with your owners and co-owners about this subject, that they come to you and ask questions about these things? I'm just curious, is that something that's common where they're saying to you, like, do we have any assessments that are coming up? Or is that part of the lack of communication that you experience where there is a disconnect between residents, board members, and there isn't much out there?
We have a lot of conversation about it. But we're different. We're highlights, so we're more of a community than somebody that's, also, so yeah, we have a lot of conversation.
So if somebody's selling and they say to you, like, I'm thinking about doing this, this is a great insert, just to say, like,
This is.
yeah, anybody, and we have a bunch of them here, and we're gonna have them here. You just let me know if you need it as a resource, but just as a board member to keep this around. When somebody new moves into the community, we're sending out the new resident packet, but you know, this, when you go and see them out, or if they have questions about things, you could hand that over. But as you know, Chris is working with people moving in and out of associations. That's a wonderful thing to lead with. And also, as a realtor, to be able to say, when they come into that, or for a board member, you could say, okay, well, you know, Chris did inform you. These are the things, these are responsibilities. This is what I do. This is what you are committing to living in an association, rather than later just saying, oh, you know what? I didn't know anything about it. And they're upset and they're calling us here, or they're, you know, showing up at an annual and getting very upset with you. So, and this is something we've dealt with for many, many years. So we just find ways to insert like education as much as possible, resources as much as possible. And if we can find that there's this huge gap, then something like working with real estate agents and helping out with the financial end by having a mortgage company just makes sense. So if you are working with anybody moving in and out and they have questions about it, or if there is a buyer, somebody that you know that wants to move in, you can send them to us, you know, on the mortgage end, and we can answer those questions. And on the real estate end, Chris is now an expert through the courses. Go right ahead, I see you.
Well,
Because since we're like, it's a divided community, but we have the Facebook group, there was one gal a couple months back. I said, I don't know the details of, because she wasn't in our group, our part of the association. But apparently there was some document that she requested, that the mortgage company, it had to show like that she was clear, you know, they didn't owe anything. But there was like a third party involved from which the document comes. It was gonna take like 10 days.
Yeah.
$300, and she was mad. I mean, they're like, what is this all about?
So that's Hawaii, yes, okay. And
yep, and that's where it
So
goes.
is that the status letter that she's referring to maybe one time?
It's more than a status letter if it was $300.
Right, but I thought just a quick thing about that real quick, and not that I love admitting, but about a year, I still remember, because it's like now going through all these education things, it's really eye-opening, but just to show how small of a portion that doing condos is in our business, most likely is about a year and a half, maybe 2 years in real estate, and sold a fair amount. And I had my first condo listing and treated it like the rest. So we scheduled closing, and then 2 or 3 days before closing, obviously title's asking for a status letter. And what's a status letter? What do you mean? And so, and it took 7 days, maybe 5, 7, 10 days. I know the closing got delayed because I had to ask what a status letter was and then have my seller request it. But this was something that can happen very often where agents might not know to ask for that.
The question was, why would it take so long? I don't know what the $300 was behind that one either,
Yeah.
but because people are still like, I just contact the management companies, they have all my records, they can just email me this and I'll have a pronto. And that was so not how it turned out. So kind of to understand, why does it take so long? And then when does it cost money and when doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah, that's the point of all of this education, is to educate the realtors from the beginning so they know what it is, but then educate homeowners, because it's not as simple as just an email saying, hey, they're current. There's
Why not?
there's a questionnaire that has to be filled out now, especially with what happened in Florida last year. There's a whole section of the questionnaire now about like structural integrity of buildings and pending lawsuits and neglected maintenance. That all has to be part of that package. It's not just an email saying, yep, they're current. There's way more to it, and that's where we come into play of trying to educate and explain what all of that is.
Where would we find that? Would we be
So-
able to see something like you know what I'm saying?
No, we don't have
I mean, I would
access
like
to
to see a copy of what is on there.
It varies from, yeah, it varies from association to association. So just for example, it was a month ago or 2 months ago, I had about 30 days worth of correspondence with HomeWise, just answering questions, filling out various different sheets of questions regarding projects that were ongoing. You know, if I answered 10 questions, they would shoot me back 10 questions to my replies. So that's why that process takes so long, because they
And
want
that's
to
through
get.
the state.
It's through, typically it's through the title company who orders it. Because they're usually the one kind of doing the research for the lender. But sometimes it's the lender directly asking, and it depends what lender it is. some ask a few questions, some ask 900 questions. So it really just, it varies based on the association, if it's a high rise versus a single family. So there's a lot of variables to it.
So was it odd that the seller was taking this on herself, or somebody should have been acting on her behalf?
Yeah, so she should have been doing that. It should have been this.
And I could be wrong too, again, this is just my
Yeah.
Facebook thing, but when she
Well-
said that she requested it,
Mhm.
maybe still someone was acting on her behalf.
Well, and the manager, you know, the community manager, that's going to Miko, and he's having those correspondence back and forth. And that's why we work with HomeWise, because they actually simplify it for us as much as it can be simplified. They help with that. So that's one of the gaps that we had, where if somebody needed their bylaws, then they didn't understand that they would, as a buyer, they're trying to find all of these things. And then they're coming to us, or they're going to the HomeWise, and in order to get those documents, imagine we have over 100 communities, and all of the residents, there's like 11,000 residents, and they're coming to us and asking for their bylaws over and over and over and over again. And not just that, but a lot of other documentation and paperwork. So it's difficult for us as a company to manage all of that, and that there's fees for that. But if the seller has access to all of that, and the seller has access to their bylaws to pass those along to the buyer. So you just have to have that communication and the collaboration happening. So if you get that question, you know, that why am I paying for something like this? Ask your seller. Ask your seller for them to get the paperwork, because they have the right to paperwork, and then they don't have to, they can skip through that. And that's just part of the education, because a lot of times you just don't know. And so maybe that could have been something that would have helped that person individually.
And we talked earlier about the educational resources that we have. So not only can show here some of the what's on our website. We have, I was mentioning videos on there, but there's help articles. So Natalie will give a quick demo here
Right.
as our marketing guru
Yes, that's
of where to find everything on our website. But if you ever have any questions on anything, go to our website.
Right.
98% chance something is there for it.
And if you can't find it, get a hold of me.
Yeah.
Because I'll make sure that you can find it. Underneath our services, we have our full community management. We also offer financial management for anywhere. So if you're going down to Florida and there's a community down there that could use some help with the finances, we can do that all the way across. It doesn't have to be close to our 2 locations. And then we also have our mortgage company, we have our property maintenance and our landscaping, and each one of those you can go onto the website and get a quote directly. We'll reach out to you if we need photos or more details. So we like to streamline it so it's as easy as possible. A really important part of this is the homeowner tools. Your portal login, HomeWise is right there for those. If you'd like to refer a board member and how to use Stan and more information about Stan. And there's a lot of people that are learning about the Texas system from the first time over, that they can come to the website and watch a tutorial on that to help out. And then we really pride ourselves on the education, and I know we've discussed that over and over again, but the magazine that you have here on the table, we have digital copies of all of our magazines. So and then we also utilize this as a blog. So all of the articles are listed here as well. And you could come in and see, these are our magazines, and scroll through those and read them digitally and share them if you find an article. But then if you've gotten questions about, how Stan works, that's an article right here that you can find on our website. And there's a decent amount of resources. This was something that had come up, we had a lot of emergencies and pipe bursts over this past winter. So we put together, for your sake and for the community's sake, and for the residents' sake, what constitutes an emergency. So we're not getting a ton of phone calls. You're not getting a ton of phone calls if the power is out. You call TTE, right? Or, it's not, you don't call the president of the board to fix that for you.
Only if it's 3 a.m.
And you had asked earlier about our videos. All of these seminars are recorded and they are posted here. So the last seminar we had was on reserve studies, a lot of amazing information. We flew somebody in that's an expert, and he has an immense amount of tools and resources and info for you as a board member, but also for residents to understand what a reserve study is and how it works. We had a educational seminar that was on smoke and pet issues, and that was from actually a board member had said, like, what am I supposed to do with marijuana, the smell of marijuana smoke? What are our rights? Or if we have a dog that's barking continually, you know, what can we do about that? So we brought in a lawyer, and he went over that specializes in condo law, and he went over all the details of documentation and having several people that are involved in it, you know, finding out that if it's a condo where there's two side by side and you only have one person that's witnessing the problem, that isn't necessarily enough. You have to have, you know, multiple people that are going to invest in the fact that this is a nuisance and then take it even further. So that's a really, really great one. And then these go back for years from our expos in the past, presentations from law, insurance, all of that is on here for you. And then Lisa, you can talk a little bit about too on CAI website, same thing. There's free educational webinars. Yeah. Oh, just one more thing before we switch over. So this is the expo that you were asking where you could find that information. So the venue is here. There's a countdown. You can register for that now. There's details about the brunch and when everything is. And even throughout here, there's a layout. Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know that photo was on there.
Also, that's
Surprise.
I used AI to put that cowboy hat on.
You gotta watch Natalie. She's taking photos 24/7. You never know where you're gonna see her picture.
Same thing with the owl camera.
Do I have to stop sharing in order to?
No, it's full size.
So have a hat?
No, it was AI. It was fake. But as Lisa's pulling this up, there is, that was quick. Look at you. There is, board member training. I'm gonna pick on you again, Alice. But there is classes, like we talked about getting credentials for managers within our company, but there's classes just like that for board members. There's some states out there, Michigan isn't one of them right now. But there's some states out there that require board members to actually go to a training class, get a certification in order to serve on a board. So they're making, I mentioned earlier, it's running a business. So you have to make sure you're educated and you're doing what's best for the community. But there's a class that CAI has that teaches you a more expanded version of what we did today of what it means to be a board member, what the president does, what the secretary does.
And we hold a 4-hour version every year at our conference and expo at the Suburban Collection Showplace. And typically, it's been successful in past years. We'll probably be continuing it on. That we invite homeowner leaders like yourselves to come to the conference and expo at no charge, just to take part in the education. You know, take the board class if you want. If not, there are so many different classes you can take throughout the day. You can meet with vendors for upcoming projects that you might be looking at. It's a great resource, as well as the website, which is where we were trying to go. So my apologies for being sidetracked. So we have the online learning center, and here would be our education for homeowners. There are
Board leader certificate right there.
right there. So this is the course that she's actually taking part in right now.
It's an excellent resource for if you have somebody that's interested
Mhm.
and becoming a part of a board, but doesn't know exactly what they should do or, you know, where they should get started. They can start. This is a great place to start.
Yeah. And I mean, there's, as we talked about earlier, there's all kinds of education for you as board members. There's education for the community managers. And we also have it for our business partners. We have an educated business partner program. So we help them learn how to specifically work within community associations. So it's not, you know, you're just bringing Joe Schmo concrete in that's never worked in an HOA, doesn't know quiet hours or things of that nature. There's courses like that that can help kind of navigate that for them as well.
So it's really the theme of today is we want you guys as board members to have all of the resources, all of the knowledge that you need to be successful. And between us, between CAI, between all these courses we do, we hope that you see that and that we can provide any of the resources that you need. So do you have anything else on that, Alex?
I was just gonna say, once you finish your course,
So,
yep,
but what I'd really like to.
you will be noted here.
Famous.
What I really like though when I registered is that I received a packet. of
Yes.
courses.
Yep.
And to this day, I'll look up something and then would you lead me to something else? And then, it's 11 o'clock and I've got to go to bed and I'm still reading. But they give you nice little booklets to help guide you through.
Yeah.
And I don't need pages, this is.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
Reading before you go to bed,
Right. And another one of the ways that we made it easy to navigate on the website, if there is anybody that's looking to move in or is moving out, there's they can shop homes in general just down here at the bottom, or they can go to our mortgage company, maintenance, landscaping, any of those questions. And we do individual work as well as work for your community. So we'll bid for the community as a whole, but if somebody needs something done, larger scale tear out or anything like that, but listings too, just having Chris as a resource. We do have some of his listings here on the website that are really easy to find. And they're not just condos or HOA associations, they're just homes in general. But you can go through this selection process. I mean, I know a lot of you have websites for your communities that will have like listings, but you could search your neighborhood and see what's for sale and if you can see who's coming and going, and knowing ahead of time that if something is listed, that you can work with the real estate agent and give them these educational resources, or say, since KS Management is your management company, that we're happy to work with them to make the process a lot simpler too.
Some great bushes are number 3.
What'd you say, bushes?
It looks fine. We have a landscaping company that I think it is.
Love your observation.
It's gonna take them a week.
So yeah, that's the biggest thing though, is we've got every single touch point you can imagine, and a lot of this came from you. So keep the feedback coming through, please, because that's what makes us better at what we do.
So with that, what questions do you guys have about anything we talked about today? Anything about being board members? Anyone have any immediate thoughts on any other classes or any other information they would like us to put together? I'll jump at once.
You need time to think.
Oh, no.
So that's what I was thinking too throughout this whole process. We should have asked right at the
We should ask
beginning.
at the beginning.
So that's my feedback to myself. Just ask at the beginning, mull it over, so you know at the end that that's coming. But if you do think of something, if a resident asks you, oh, there it is.
Okay, you have a lawn maintenance and you have a landscape.
Yeah.
Why do you not have a general maintenance person?
We do.
Well, then how come nobody knows?
Yeah, we have a maintenance company as well.
So
We do
that's.
work with your community, actually.
Yeah.
Our maintenance company is.
Yeah. So that KS maintenance tab, we do work for homeowners, individual homeowners. We also have a snowbird service. There's a lot of different resources that we have for if you need something done within your home, and you're not necessarily just handyman stuff. Give us a call, we'll quote that for you, no problem. I'm using KS Maintenance right now because I'm in the process. Chris is my realtor and I'm buying a home and I'm using KS Mortgage Group. I'm like all things KS right now. But Tim, who is our maintenance manager, he's gonna come by, and there's just like, I don't know, 5 or 6 things that I need taken care of that are just too much when you're in the process of moving out. So I'm just gonna have him come over and give me a quote for it and kind of go from there. So handyman things, a little bit of drywall, even painting, light fixtures. If you have like tall ceilings, I'll go up
Really
there. And,
everything.
yeah, everything.
Definitely everything on the maintenance side.
Yeah. Mhm.
Is there, I think I heard someone virtually. Did someone have a question on there?
I did. I wanted to know about errors and omission insurance for board members.
Yes. Did you have a specific question on it or just in general?
Do we have any insurance?
Yes, yeah, board members have, it's called directors and officers insurance.
Okay.
So directors and officers insurance is gonna cover you guys individually as board members. If you make a decision that causes harm to the association or is some decision that leads to something negative, with the caveat that you it's called the business judgment rule in the state of Michigan. So as long as you are adhering to advice from professionals, so attorneys, management companies, insurance agents, as long as you're taking advice from them and making decisions in good faith based on what they recommend, that insurance is covering you guys as board members. Now, if you go out and you get an opinion from an attorney, you say, no, he's wrong, I'm doing the opposite. Your insurance is not going to cover you as a board member in that case.
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have on our website, we did a educational seminar on insurance, like maybe 6 months ago. So we talked about that in depth on that one if you want to watch that recording as well. Any other questions?
I have one. Do you have the floor plans and the properties that you need?
I heard this.
I have a light switch and I have no idea what to control.
Yeah.
North Star?
There's Chris's card.
For sure. But yeah, we can look for you though. So we have all of the governing documents for every association, but some of them are, if they were built a long time ago, they might not have individual floor plans for every single unit. They might just have the building as a whole. So it's kind of different based on the association, but we can look for you.
Oh, I just knocked on my neighbor who would live in the same floor plan.
Yeah.
What if this place was?
Turn the lights on and off. There's another one. It's the garbage disposal 2 minutes over. Okay, any other questions? You guys are easy tonight. We usually get grilled.
Well, the night's still young, Lee.
Okay. Everyone come and give us some feedback on any other courses you want to see, any other questions that you come up with. A big thank you to Lisa.
Yeah, thanks.
And same, you all have my card. If there's anything I can ever help you with, please feel free to reach out to me.
And there's snacks and waters if you want anything for the road.
Out of curiosity, where is everyone from? I'm just curious. I'm from Allen Park. I'm part of Allen Point Condominium Association. Who else would like to offer? Where they're
We're
from?
from Cornerstone, South Bay.
Okay.
I'm from Ann Arbor, in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Cool.
Thanks, Rachel.
Which place in Ann Arbor? Is that correct?
Independence Condo Association.
Good.
Rachel actually has a testimonial on our website. She's featured heavily.
She's famous.
She's very big part of the education aspect of what we do here at KS and is an example of a board member that's fully involved and now really out in the Ann Arbor area, there's a lot of condos and Canton and all of that. There's a ton, all of the new builds are in associations too. So Rachel, I hope some of the information that we shared about the real estate and mortgage aspect of things was helpful for you too.
Well, I have to say, I had my hand up a few times when I started the condo process, downsizing and sold my house. So this was my first experience ever with condos, although I had heard anecdotal evidence from people.
Right?
What?
Nobody.
Yeah. Well, and I've raised myself by my shoestrings on this process, and we have a really good board right now that we're very happy with. We've gotten a lot of work done. Our work is endless. It's just endless. Whenever we get a step forward, it's kind of 3 steps back. But when I was buying into the association, I hired a lawyer to look at the condo papers, but I wouldn't know what to look for, you know, and they came back and they said, well, the reserves look adequate for a condo association that size. As soon as I was into the complex and within the first couple years, it was apparent that there were some really delayed maintenance issues. And I won't get mad at management for that or anything. What bothers me is that there's not some sort of a rating system for a condo association so that you can say this is an A-rated, you know, association, or this is a D-rated association, because now I am very aware of what kind of a patchwork quilt running associations is, and that it really isn't a solid business process unless you have board members who understand what a business process is.
Absolutely.
And this seems like, you know, a horrible, to me, I have yet to find information that goes along with what I think should be required of buying into condo associations. Better information than than hiring a lawyer that says, well, this year's reserve study says this.
Yeah, and
Because you
Rachel,
can't get long views.
and that's a good point, Rachel, with the reserve studies is we did a seminar. I know some of you attended it. The last seminar we did was about reserve studies. And that those are becoming required in the state of Michigan.
When's that supposed to happen?
But they don't give you a long-term view of the record of the association. Because if you look at the record of the association, I can give you an example. Okay, so you buy into, this is made up, but based on real information. You can buy into an association that had been self-managed for 12 years and then had, you know, had somehow managed, you know, to buy a manager, to get a management company and start working on pulling out of that. But then right after, you know, in 5 years, that management company quits. You know, and then you need another management company, but you don't have that record available that this is an associate, you know, that you're buying into an association that has a long record of lack of maintenance. You can't get that information. And that should be somewhere, you know, there should be a good tell. When you buy a house, you have it inspected. Well, a condo can be inspected, but the infrastructure of the whole community is not inspected.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Maybe it
And,
should.
and you're buying property.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, in the industry is what, you know, is a huge thing to me, is what that information is like pleasurably able to hide for anybody who doesn't want accountability.
I think that's why status letters are so important as well. Right.
Why, what is so important?
Status letters coming from the title company, the questionnaires that we receive, and then provide, you know, any ongoing projects, any special assessments that are coming with the property, you know, future projects that are coming. I mean, I think that's why those are a thing, status letters.
Yeah, they've become much more in the last, I would say, 6 months. They've become so much more detailed.
Well, that's good news. They should be.
But
The industry's had 10 years to catch up since I bought a condo, so.
yeah, it's changed a little since then. But
I
now,
hope so.
now these questionnaires are, I don't know, last one I saw was like 20 pages. It was like probably 500 questions about past maintenance, upcoming projects, structural stability of the building itself. So all of that detail is kind of being incorporated in those status letters.
But am I correct that it's more like proprietary information, you know, of a tech industry, you know, that we don't have to tell that stuff?
No, it's all required now, and it's disclosed to the title company and the mortgage company.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Not to the.
I have another question. When people are selling their units and they have not disclosed that they actually have a problem with their unit, that is the responsibility of whose responsibility is that? Because I know what the form looks like. I did it for my house and everything else. But if somebody doesn't disclose, that's a purchase problem, right? That is like the new buyer. We've been saying in our association, you have to return to the sale.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a condo association problem.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. If there's an issue with a unit and the seller doesn't disclose it,
yeah.
Unfortunately, the association does not have any involvement in that. The buyer needs to go back after the seller or the title.
Yeah. I wanted that clarified. Thank you.
Of course.
Chris was just saying too about, if somebody is behind on their dues and they're trying to sell and how that affects.
Yes.
The association themselves.
That's the main reason we ask for status letters, because we don't want to turn, we find out that towards the end of closing that it's a lien on the property.
Right.
Surprise.
Right.
Right.
So that's, I don't know, I was asking if we deal with status letters. I said the main reason is it can almost, if you're behind in payments, we almost treat it like a mortgage payoff. Like that's treated as a lien. If you're behind on payments on your status letter, that can be treated as a lien as well. So that's something we keep an eye on.
If they're behind on dues, could that totally hold up the sale of a condo or a unit?
Not necessarily.
Right.
It would be-
From what I've seen in the past, I guess, I mean, it shouldn't happen often ideally, but you most likely can use the proceeds of the sale of your home to pay off any behind dues, just like you would with any other lien, back taxes, water bills, things like that. You can use the proceeds of your home, or it'll be in escrow with the title company. If you were supposed to get $100,000 back, but you owe $5,000 in dues, something like that, you'll now be getting $95 from the title company per check.
And we'll see a lot of times if.
But don't do that. Okay, we got it. I'll wait till I sell.
But that's part of like if there's associations that have maybe added or special assessments that are spanning over a course of multiple years. When you sell, that can be part of the negotiation and say, hey, the new buyer is going to pay 25% of it, the seller is going to pay the other 75%, and that can be escrow, as Chris was mentioning, through the sale. So it's not, because sometimes buyers or sellers will think there's going to be a holdup if there's an assessment coming, that they have to then kind of cough up all that money at that point in time of that transaction. And that's not the case. You can work that out as part of the purchase agreement.
So I've learned so much tonight. I can say this was a board member educational seminar, but I feel like I've learned so much. And I feel like I hope you feel the same way. And we'll keep these coming. So we have them every quarter. Our next seminar is going to be the expo that we have, and it's October 12th. So if you want to, you can RSVP to that now. We'll be sending out invitations to them as well. And that will have all of our vendors will be there. Oh, I wanted to show you on our website too, we have a trusted vendors tab as well. And those are vendors that we have vetted, that we know that are, we have not had issues working with, that we can actually count on. So sometimes that's a great resource too. We know if a project comes up and you ask us, we'll give suggestions. You can find whichever vendor you fit for a project. But as far as us as a management company, we are happy to help with that aspect of things too. So that's another resource on the website, and in the magazine too. There's some articles that are written by some amazing roofers, and Concraft is always, Neil is always writing in there as well. So wonderful job. Thank you, Lisa. Wonderful. Thank you, Lee and Chris and Nico, and for all of you being here. Thanks for coming. No, all right. That's lovely. Right?
So we're Southtown.
And thanks for being online too. Okay, this will be recorded and you can watch it if you want to use that as a resource.
When you're going down Allen Road.
Oh, the newer development.
So we have 3 different, communities.
Okay.
If you have questions about that bundle select program, the 20% off, I do have some flyers right here too.
And then we also have